So just like in Tai Chi, you try to sustain your body in the legs a little bit longer, because it doesn't have to be rushed. And like if you're competing, it's not the fluidity of just the fluidity. It has to be the leg work. This is something I, talk about in every class, even in Kung Fu. It's the legs. Most people can't develop the legs enough because it's the hardest part to develop. You have to sustain your weight. So when you make a transition, it's better. And then the positions. If you're here, it has to be that position. If you're here, it's this position, right? If you're here, it's that position. If you're here, right? If you're here, you see, it goes to the same place every time. That's what muscle memory is. It's learned in the body, and when you're in your stance, you're solid in your stance. And then you can go into your next movement. So the control of your legs is what allows the movements to become more integrated and more accurate in positioning. Because without the accurate positioning, then everybody looks the same. It's kind of sloppy, right? So this is what we have to understand in any form you're doing, whether it's fist form or apparatus, just the accuracy of your movement. Because if it's all blended together, it doesn't, then anybody can actually try to do that. But it's the preciseness, the timing, the stability in your position. That's what, shows up the most. When you're in this position, the footwork is this. You have to sink, just like in Bang Bu in third form. If you just go like this, that's not this footwork. You have to be here. And then you're here. Then that goes down. And then there's something going on in the legs all the time. But this isn't something, because you're just learning sequence. But people that have been doing it a while, like Eddie, Maria, Felicity, these have to be understood. Because otherwise we just go through the form for sequence. But, with the understanding, you have to realize what you're trying to do. You're trying to program this into your body and convert what's information that's not there into information that can be teaching the body. If the information here isn't right, it's not going to be right here. So you have to first at least house it here, then process it here. Once it's processed here, then the feedback. If the hand is here, if your hand, if it's like this, if it's like this, if you're stepping, the relationship between the movement is there, right? If I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the timings synchronize. Speed will change if it's in your system. Now I go. It still has to be sped up, but it has to be still there. It can't be because I'm speeding it up, then it gets like that. See what I mean? That program is like your transmission. 10 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour. It doesn't change as far as other than the speed. It's still synchronized. That's how your body becomes. Yeah, it's better to do it slower. Because how can you miss everything if you do it fast, right? If you start off like this, like that, then it just gets, So slow it down, pick up. So it's sort of relearning it, You have to go through the process of relearning it, and then you'll discover, then you'll relearn it, and you discover. You kind of insert little bits and pieces of this information. But, the information is better leg work, shift your weight, build better timing in the body so that the body starts to recognize. If it doesn't recognize it, then it's missing that piece. So then you build on it. So while we learn the sequence fairly fast, then you have to go back and relearn it, and then have to relearn it again, and relearn it again. Now if you learned it slowly, then you learn it a little bit better, and then you add on to it. And then at least the relearning it again isn't, starting from scratch again. But there's two schools of thought. You can learn forms really fast, but you're going to have to go back and relearn it. And you have to relearn it as many as 10 times probably, just as throwing out a number. So it's not anything different with any individual. Everyone has to go through that. But just that by the time you learn it 10 times, depending on how long you learned it, that's how long it's going to take. So that's just a process. But not everybody, is a teacher, so there's no rush. It's just improved because it's recreational. But if you are teaching it, then it's good to know what what you're up against and what has to evolve, not just on a physical level, but on an intellectual level. And then the body intelligence will show up. And the body intelligence will show up based on what the student wants to see. If the student thinks that they're already better than you, then what do you have, right? That's why a lot of martial artists fail, because their depth of knowledge is not deep enough to go beyond a certain level. It's like a professor. Not all professors are created equal. Not all the higher level ones, the people that have been doing it a lot longer, are the ones that they pay more. That's how it is, because they have a deeper knowledge. Yeah, everything's So that's, and this is the same. Someone doing 10 years is not going to be, as good as someone that's doing it 20 years if they're practicing correctly. And then if you're doing it for 30 or 40 years, and if your body will evolve. But you have to develop the good habits, the right habits, the correct things, and then it will evolve from there. It always evolves from a level of perfection on that level. And then you go to the next level and you reach that threshold, and then you go through it again, and you go through it again. So those thresholds are what people get stuck on. And you can't get beyond the threshold if the information is not good enough or can't take you through the breakthrough. And that's kind of how it is. It's like that in computers too, right, Sonny? People that have spent years and years at it, all the troubleshooting you've done, it's innate. It's been all the rookies come in and say, "So how do you do that?" Oh, copy me, right? That's how people learn it. With this, you can copy. What Sonny does, you really can't copy it because you can't remember everything that's happening because you can't see it. It's all virtual. It's in the mind. But on a physical level, you can see that there's something that we're striving for, right? So, yeah. 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 So, see, because if I go like this and step and go like this, then if I'm here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because, well, you learned it on video, right? And you came to class, so you can't pick up on that. Video is one thing that's very hard. The pickup is 3 dimensions. Video is 2-dimensional movement. So no matter what you see in 2 dimensions, not the same as when it's live. The bare hand? Yeah. Why would it be different? Right? So everyone thinks when they learn something, it's different. There's no difference. So that answered your question. But that's part of the discovery, right? You know, I'm in an empty stance. Well, why is this different from this? Or this? No different. It's empty stance, right? So but the thing is, when we go like this, and we go like this, when we don't synchronize it with the torso, then the alignment of the movement's not going to be as good. But that depends on your flexibility of your spine, your body, and alignment, and the turning, and where. So that's the straight line. Is your body able to track that? That's another thing, right? But is that good to be able to track your movement in space? That's proprioception. It helps prevent age-related degeneration of misalignment of body. That's all we're doing is lining our body when we do our fundamentals. It's called funkin togut. Funkin. Separate the tendons and align the bones. Right? That's all. That's what we do. Huh? Right? So if you can't do that, it's because the body is resistant. And it's resistant because it doesn't know. So it's up to you to fix your own body. So this, exercise is the only one thing that we have a choice in doing or not, right? That's why a lot of people don't exercise. Fortunately, we have people that have a bit of interest, and exercise is essential. But it takes some chronic disease before you realize that what you've been told to do is something that you have to do. It's just like eating, or smoking, or any of these things. No one thinks I need to, because it's not going to happen to me. But the thing is, who knows, right? Do what you can do that you can use to support what you're supposed to be doing, and then you gain the benefit of that. But don't wait till it's too late, right? It's never too late, but, So align the body, build some flexibility just from doing it. This is the only reason why we do this, right? And for me, it's preserving a art that's trying to go away. But for most people, it's just doing it as an exercise. So just holding your arms, you don't need the apparatus to do this because it's in your body already. So that's why there's a lot to it. It's more important to develop the neurons in your brain than to just build strong muscles. When you're here, this hand should be 45 in the back corner. Your arm extend more. And then pull back. And then step up. Push. Push. So this is this is pushing, this is the shoulder relax. You then, yeah. No, just straight. Yeah, you don't have to go. Just get the position here. Yeah. Then it's balance, active and passive. See, because the sword's coming like this, then people will use the shoulder, but the shoulder's going to be tight. So relax the shoulder. Then it becomes an arc, because there's no strength here. The strength is here. You only need to stop here. If you want to go up, then it's extending. You don't need to do that unless you can cut the person in half. So, and then the footwork, do the sliding step. Other side. Yeah. Yeah. If you can sit into that leg more longer, and the blade is should be facing outward. Yeah. No, that's not out. See, my blade is vertical out. Your blade is like this. Should be out. Yeah. And then Felicity, when you cut to the waist, because your wrist is flat, it wants to do that. So when you slice, try to get this horizontal so you have a clean slice. So that means your wrist has to be bent here. Yeah. Then if you cut this way, you have to be sort of cognizant of the direction of the blade, because if you're just kind of swinging it, then it is no defining control of the motion. It's like when you're spreading butter on a piece of bread. If you don't have the right surface, it doesn't create the action. So this is, functionality is the same. So everything that we do, depending on what, if you're using a hammer, you don't use the side, you use the head. You pull out a nail, you use the hook. So they have, each one of those has a purpose, and you have to be in the right position to do it. Otherwise it doesn't work. But, those are easy examples. And Maria's saying, leave my shoulder alone. Yeah, so this is level, waist. Level, shoulder height. This is center line, elbow position. This is curved here slightly. So these little skeletal adjustments to make, the apparatus do what it should be doing. So the apparatus doesn't know anything, it's just how you configure your body to put it into that position. So that's the relationship between your body and the apparatus and the purpose. Yeah. From this to this to this. So you have to maneuver. That's maneuvering your body into the right position. So if you're doing it fast, you may not know if you're maneuvering correctly. And if you're not moving correctly, then the sword will show up as, not as precise. So what does it come down to get your sword in the right position? It comes to control factor. So what are we developing in the form, the fist form? Control. How do we maneuver this arm and that arm and this piece and this piece and this piece and this and this? So we're developing control in the empty hand fist form. Then when we combine this, the control that you develop in your fist form will show up here as a magnification of the misalignment of your movement and the timing and all the stuff that you may or may not have. And then the leg work, the stability in your stance, the pass through, one leg to another. It has to go through that whole process. That's avoiding double weightedness. double weightedness is a fault. Song Chong. It's called Hui Sit Fun Ten. Means differentiate between the solid and empty. So these are concepts and principles that you can house those ideas forever because they don't change. What changes your execution? So, but body intelligence isn't, it's not created equal for everybody because not everybody sees it, not everybody understands it. Depending on the individual, some pick it up earlier than others, some never pick it up, some don't want to pick it up. Depends on, how much you want to get out of it. For someone, like myself, why would I do this as long as it? Because I've aside from interests, I struggle to see what else there is. What else can you get out of it other than what I've already gotten out of it? So it's, I have a different mission, but I can, try to get you to understand that same mission could be part of your experience, especially if you've been doing it for 20 years. It's not mindless, it's mindful. But once you get the mindfulness of it and it enters the body, then it becomes mindless. That's no-minded, but not really mindless. So that means clarity of the thought. And actually, this training actually develops a person that's much more calm. Why? Because you're dealing with problems and problem solving. And after you solve enough of these problems, you realize that it's a piece of cake because everything works along the same process. There's something I think the younger generations lack this of how the mind is used, other than the stuff that they're influenced by that's not so good. If you don't know that there's 13 stripes in the flag, then you haven't been paying attention, right? In all their life. These are adults or even. Anyways, that's it. Ubao. Salute.
Pearls before swans.
Pearls before swans?